Live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our last session in the 5-week course of answering the call. We have had some wonderful interviews the past 5 weeks, and I'm excited because I know that we are going to have another one. As far as the video lesson for Module 5, I understand there's some audio problems, and I'm going to check with Pastor Rob. You all met him last week, and see how we can get that worked out. So keep checking the group page for further instructions. We may have to do another live interview so that you can get that information. I understand that I may have a weak connection this week, so if I'm okay and you can hear me and see me well, please let me know. I'll keep my eyes on the comments. In the meantime, welcome everyone. Now, you know, if you're with Facebook and you have not given StreamYard permission to reveal your identity, when you comment, it will only say a Facebook user. So we'd like to know your name, and you can write your name with your comment. I see we have 2 comments already. Good evening, Deacon Alexis. Thank you, Elder Wanda. I know it's not. Thank you. And thank you for making us aware about the audio problem. I really appreciate that. So Module 5 basically consists of worksheets that coincide with the 3 videos that I posted. And so you will not be able to work on those until we get our technology fixed. And again, I apologize for that. I don't know what happened somewhere between me sending it to you. I guess it's the settings or something. But otherwise, we've had a good go at it as far as technology is concerned. So I'm excited about that. And so today, I want to introduce to you all a wonderful and dynamic woman of God. And she is hold on a second, let me get my banner going. There you are. She's a business strategist and consultant who has come today to talk to us about the business of ministry. It's very easy for us to conceptualize, God is calling me. He has something he wants me to do. I have kingdom purpose, and moving in it from a spiritual context. However, there is a corporate, a business side to ministry, whether you are a mega church, the average size church, which is less than 75 people, whether you are a parachurch ministry or a minister who wants to incorporate yourself so that you can benefit from whatever may be available. And so I wanted to address that because I know that each of you is in a different place and on a different level. And so I introduced to you Lady Joyce Rice. And at the end, she's going to talk to you about what she offers, and if she likes to share about the ministry that she co-labors in with her husband and the wonderful things that they've been doing. And they've been riding the wave of COVID and managing and being versatile in that as we have as well. and she has an MBA. I think I said that already. And her focus was personal finance and business launch and strategy. Did I say that right?
Yeah, so my MBA focus was business management. And with regards to consulting work, yes, business launch and strategic planning.
Okay, well, we're going to get right to it so that we won't have to rush through anything. So, my first question is, what business basics should be considered when contemplating the development or the reorganization of ministry?
That is definitely a great question, Dr. Stratford, and please let me thank you for allowing me to share this time with you. Really, it's truly an honor. Your integrity is impeccable, and I know that I'm not alone in just really giving you great honor for what you're doing. So thank you for allowing me to be here. The question of what should be considered when you're developing or reorganizing a ministry is really a great starter question. Um, because the reality is we all have many different talents, many different gifts. But should it be a ministry? Should it be an organization? Should it be a business? So the point at which we have a desire to develop a ministry or an organization, what should be considered is definitely a great place to start. One of the things that I would ask is, well, what type of ministry will this be?
Mhm.
What type of ministry will this be? And the reason why I ask that question is because you have to then consider, how will you operationalize the ministry that you want to develop or reorganize? And what do I mean by operationalize? How will you deliver the missional goal of that ministry? Right? So what are the pieces of the puzzle that will be involved in being able to execute or operationalize uh, this particular ministry? Now, I haven't gotten to effectively. I just said, how will we actually do it?
Yes.
What is the model? What is the model? So if you had to go on a 2-week vacation, will people know how to continue to execute the model of that ministry?
Mm, yes.
Okay. So when you think about going on a hiatus, or someone just decided to snatch you up for 60 days, will that ministry be able to operationalize? So what does that mean? How will it be executed? So when you think about an actual business, okay, they have something called service delivery model. That essentially means that when someone engages with that organization, there is a standard way in which a person who experiences that organization is going to experience it. Whether it's Tom, whether it's Cindy, whether it's Sue, whether they come in on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or a Friday, there is a standard delivery model for that particular product or service. Well, why should it be any different if it's ministry? Okay.
Mhm.
So how will it be operationalized? Okay. That's one thing to consider. The next thing, Dr. Stratford, is what resources are needed to deliver or execute this ministry or mission. Okay. What do I mean by resources? People, are
Mhm.
there particular skills or know-how? Is there an equipment? Maybe it's a food drive, or maybe it is chili and grilled cheese every Sunday. During the winter months. Somebody needs to know how to make a grilled cheese sandwich, or someone needs to have a griddle, right?
Yes.
Or do we need to buy up 5 or 6 different crock pots, right? So equipment. Okay, if we want to, let's say we want to start a ministry, but it's programmatic. And let's say your program year is seasonal, right? Maybe
Mhm.
it's a particular ministry from, November through March 1. Okay, so for this period of time, is there a certain type or amount of inventory or raw goods that are needed to make sure that you can execute this particular ministry or effort? Okay, technology. Is there technology that's needed? And then obviously capital. Okay, so these are some of the things that need to be considered. So I like to think about, when you're asking yourself this question, think about it in maybe two phases. Um, what would it take to launch this or start this, to get
Mhm.
this actually going? Like our first event, our first function, our first month, to say we're open, our doors are open, and then the ongoing. So
Yes.
anytime an organization starts, you're going to have launching or capital needs. It might be a building, it might be a van, it might be equipment, it could be table, chairs, it could be land. You're going to have what's called capital needs. These are generally launching needs. And if you're in the nonprofit space, and let's say you're looking at, like, say, pursuing grants and things of that sort, you can strategically look at funders based on your type of needs. So if you're looking at starting an organization, you may have capital needs, right? I've got this amazing mission, I need to get it off the ground, I need funders to sow for capital needs. I need to get this off the ground. We found a building, but we need to, like, secure it, or we found a building,
Yes.
but we need to build it out with different rooms, or
Mhm.
we need specific equipment. So you got your launching needs to start that thing up. But then you may have what's called ongoing expenses and overhead. So once you get it off the ground, how do we keep it going? So you need to identify what are the ongoing needs. And if it were me, I would quantify that. So if you had zero in your bank account, but you needed to keep this mission or ministry going, let's say it's programmatic and it may be 6 months out of the year only, or
Mhm.
let's just say that it's year round. Maybe this program runs once a month on a Sunday, or 4 times a month on a Sunday. Or let's just say that this ministry runs 3 days a week, or again in the wintertime, or whatever.
Yes.
Identify what it takes for it to effectively run ongoing, not contingent. Well, if we generate this, then we can do that. No, no.
Mm.
Identify what's necessary to keep that ministry um, afloat every single time you do it, depending on, again, what type of ministry it is. And again, if you get the capital needs made, some of those ongoing needs may not be on that list. They may not stay, but there may be ongoing expenses that do have to be considered. So
That's
those are the
good.
things that I would, Dr. Stratford, consider in the development or reorganizing a ministry.
That's great. And um, sometimes when we start ministry, we do not consider the practicality of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to sell real estate, and having pastors come ask to see buildings, and
Mm.
then when you ask them um, some very solid questions, it's, oh, we're believing God. And
Mhm.
so,
I get into trouble with that one a lot,
yeah.
because there is a practical side to that.
Yes, absolutely. And when you know what they're operating with in terms of membership, but they're looking at a stadium, you know, and you just can't work with that. We as believers in Christ, we get it, we understand.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about business and dealing with corporations and organizations, even if they're faith-based, at
Mm-hmm.
some point they're going to want something more concrete. And thank you for those considerations. I know that it's going to be very helpful for people who are feeling that nudge
Oh
to
yes.
even they may already be in buildings, but looking to move forward or looking to launch
Mm-hmm.
another component of the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great.
And can I add one more thing to that?
Yes.
Because we don't want to dilute the power of prayer. We don't want
Oh,
to
yeah.
dilute the power of belief. So guess what? If we do the work and we identify what is needed for that vision, that thing we're believing God for, now we can ask God specifically what we need for that down payment. We can ask God specifically
Yes.
for that revenue. We can ask God specifically for, what it'll take to get there. And we're doing our due diligence. So putting some strategy behind that prayer with the
Hmm.
numbers, with the research,
That's good.
and then when they go to someone like you, having been a realtor, they can pull out the full proposal of what they know it will
Hmm.
cost and where they think they're going to get that seed money from, or where they're
Hmm.
going to get that funding from.
And they're in the word, counting the
That's correct.
cost. Counting
Yes,
the
ma'am.
cost. That's a strategy. Okay. We're going to move on. The next question is, how can ministry benefit from incorporating business practices into its processes?
Well, you said a lot. You shared a very good point with the practicality of it. With practicality comes predictability and comes ease of management. And, management is a strong principle in business. Business management, financial management, people management. Management is a huge element of business. And when you think about an organization, if you want it to be successful and if you want a return on that investment, whether it be time or money or what have you, you got to manage the things that you have. If you're blessed with an amazing, let's say, amount of funding, then you definitely want to have some structure regarding the management of it, financial budgeting, managing your volunteer pool, and being able to pretty much target what's coming down the pipeline. So I would say that think of your ministry as providing a value to people's lives, or at least have a desire to provide a value. When a business desires, think of a business, think of it like this: when a business desires to grow, they desire to grow from loyal followers or patrons. And one of the things that they focus on is value in exchange for a fair market cost. They don't ask you to pay that or give that without knowing that they've demonstrated good value for it.
Mm.
So they're not apologetic when they ask you, to pay for what they're delivering on, because they've done the homework to deliver value. Also consider positive experiences, strategies in growing your following base, and also consider long-term growth strategies. So these are some of the business practices that your
Mhm.
Fortune 100 and 500 businesses practice. They practice demonstrating value consistently. They practice growing and expanding. So how do you grow and expand? You have to have a consistent brand experience, not just a brand logo, because we may recognize who you are by the logo,
Yes.
but there's a distinction between a brand of who you are. I recognize the colors, I recognize the name, versus a branded experience.
That's good.
Now, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I'm like the customer service police. If you're able to identify what branded experience you want, and what do I mean by brand? You can count on it. When I walk through your doors, I know what I'm going to experience.
Mm.
I'm not trying to say that you take God and the movement of the Holy Spirit out of your church.
Absolutely.
We're not saying that.
No, we're not.
But there are certain branded elements that you want to keep consistent. Why? Because you're delivering an experience of what value? You're delivering an experience of value. It doesn't mean that your marketing and your physical possessions and things in the church, like the chairs and the carpet and the music. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the fact that we are operating in a spirit of excellence. We've identified an experience that matches our mission and value statements, and we're
Mhm.
able to deliver an experience consistently. This is how you grow your following. This is what corporate America does. They create a branded experience that is reliable, such that no matter where you go, if you go to Chick-fil-A in California or you go to
Yes.
Chick-fil-A in South Carolina, you're going to get the same branded experience.
Mhm.
Tom in West Virginia is going to say, "My pleasure." They're going to give you all the
Yes.
sauces you want without charging you for it. When you go to Chick-fil-A in South Carolina, Cindy's going to do the same thing, because they have, listened to this, they have identified how to operationalize their services. And within that, they have identified specific steps, specific things that will happen consistently with every aspect of the delivery of that service. But guess what? Ministry is also a delivery service.
Mhm.
We are offering people Jesus, but within that, there's an experience.
Yes.
We're organized. We're respecting people's time, right? We're talking to people like we care about them. We're literally taking those principles that Jesus taught us, and we are applying them in our organization, which a lot of people call business.
Mhm.
They call business practices. So that is a key to growth. So providing value, a branded experience, and I would say, if you want to really look at starting with great business practices, go back and look at your mission and your vision statement and
Mhm.
literally grow from there. So start with your mission. The mission says that if somebody looks in on my ministry, what will they see us doing? What activities will they see?
Mhm.
This is what people will see. That mission statement is what comes to life. When you write that mission statement out, you have to now deliver on that mission statement. So when people peek through your doors, or when they look at what your ministry is doing, it should be reflected as a basis from your mission statement. Your vision is your long game.
Mhm.
You're not stopping. You're not giving up. There's a long-term vision that God has given you, and your mission is
It's how you do
graduating
it.
you to every
Mhm.
level to ultimately get to that complete actualization of the full fruition of what God has given you in that ministry. But your mission is the operationalization of your ministry. And when people engage you, they're going to see that mission come to life. So I would just say, do the exercise on the mission and vision statement. And from there, you can grow your strategies for building loyalty, your branded experience, which will help you scale
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
gain the confidence of your followers, their loyalty, commitment. And guess what? That branded experience is going to be like, oh, it's a great experience. I
Oh,
love that ministry, or
great.
I love going over here. I love doing this, because the
Good
experience is
consistent.
consistent.
Mhm.
It's
That's
consistent.
great. And we do have that. Which way we go? We do have we we do have that in our workbook for those who came
Awesome.
on later. It says, write the purpose for your ministry, its vision and mission statement. So take the time to do that. Um, Hello, Elder Sean. Yes, it is amazing. And Facebook user, let's see.
Hey, someone said something very nice. Thank you very much, Facebook user.
It's so great to see you, Joyce. You're definitely the expert. Someone else.
Good evening.
Oh, there they are. Yes. Good evening and hello. I'm sorry you all's names are not showing up. And hello, Reverend Janine. Good to have you all on. Thank you for joining. I know this is good stuff, and I hope you're taking notes, but you'll be able to watch the replay. I'm going to definitely watch it and make sure that I'm up to snuff, as they used to say.
It's just really good. It's really good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. There are amazing things that we can unpack, and a lot of opportunities that we can find to create structure and build momentum and even excitement in our volunteer workforce, our volunteer labor force, with some of these principles.
Yes, and that is an issue that really needs to be discussed in the church, how to recruit and retain good volunteers.
Yes, yes. I had some notes about that further into our discussion. Um,
Okay,
some
that's
things
great.
that hopefully if we get to it, um, trying to think if there was some other. So I just had two more quick points to your
Hmm.
question, Dr. Stratford, regarding how the ministry can benefit from incorporating business practices. So the first
Great.
thing we said was, think of your ministry as providing a value to people's lives. Yes, we're doing ministry, but think about the value, some of the value added things that individuals are experiencing when they engage your ministry, whether that be in church or an individual ministry or what have you. The other thing, I had two more points, or several more points, excuse me. Um, so we talked about the consistent ministry experience. And so two more things. Consistent financial management. Okay. This is going to help you to forecast and make business and financial decisions. Should you be participating in that thing? Well, you can answer that question with confidence if you have good financial management, because you'll know what you've been trending for the last 3 to 6 months. So when you
Yes.
know what you've been trending for the last 3, 6 to 9 months, you can make a decision about something 6 months from now or a year from now. Okay. And the last thing, to your point, Dr. Stratford, was, building a workforce of labor, okay, that delivers with consistency. Guess what? If somebody
Mm.
asks me to volunteer, and I try it out for a day or an hour, and I see that there's order, people know what the standard operating procedures are. I don't have people bike back, biting and complaining. People know exactly what they're supposed to do. People are moving in sync with each other. Oh, this is great. I'll be happy to
Yes.
volunteer. Okay. So standard operating procedures, get this, for every area of ministry. I don't care if
Mm.
you have 15 people in your ministry, it is not too much.
Hmm.
Because again, you're creating the foundation to scale. If you have greeters, have a standard operating procedure for your greeters. You take up offering, have a standard operating procedure for taking up offering. If you send out thank you letters for visiting, have a standard format and language associated with that. You don't want anything for guessing, because you're creating your branded experience.
Awesome.
So those are the
Incredible.
last 2 points I wanted to add for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, Lakeisha. Glad to see you. Okay, so our next question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of nonprofit versus a for-profit incorporation for parachurch and individual ministries?
Well, this is what I would say. I would say for any visionary that has a people-centric vision,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Any type of vision, people-centric vision, that means that what you ultimately do is impacting either populations, or impacting a pandemic, or impacting a need, or impacting a cause. Any people-centric vision. If you, let's say that you're a pastor, or you're a prophet or prophetess, but you have a passion and a call to deal with or address people-centric issues, I would say that it would behoove you to consider a nonprofit. Why? Because everything that you bring into that organization is 100% tax free. You're not going to have to worry about paying taxes on the monies that you raise. So what you want to do is go ahead and get your articles of incorporation together. You want to
Mm-hmm.
file for your nonprofit through your state, and then you want to take the next step and pursue your tax exemption acknowledgement. So there are, 2 stages to that. Once you get that tax exemption acknowledgement through from the IRS, then at that point you are exempt from taxes. And to me, this is going to be the best way to go for individuals that have people-centric vision. Where your impact is the people of God. whether they're saved or not. You know, it could be homelessness, it could be, families or children that have suffered abuse, whatever that vision is. We all have a passion, right? There's always
Yes.
something that touches our heart that says, okay, I'm great at this, but if money wasn't an issue, I
Still be
just buy
doing it.
a
Mhm.
100 million pairs of socks and give them to every
Yes.
child that didn't have socks. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You follow me? Like, so your gifting, maybe like you can literally preach folks under the benches. But then, when you're out of that preaching stage, you may just have a heart for children, or you may have a heart for the elderly, or you may have a heart for education, whatever that may be. If you have people centric vision, I'm going to say that your nonprofit route is going to be the way to go. Now, if you have other talents, right? God has given you other talents. You're a great speaker, great motivational speaker. Maybe you're a great writer. Maybe you're a great producer. Maybe you're great with music producing.
Mhm. Mhm.
Perhaps you are great with nursing administration or nursing business or whatever these facets are. Go ahead and create an LLC. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to be able to monetize those other gifts through a for-profit entity, and keep those things separate. So that is essentially what I would do in that particular case. And
Great.
I would also create separate entities that are connected to your church ministry for
Yes.
service. Create separate nonprofit entities where you can grow and scale. Because let's say you start a nonprofit program and you want to grow that with employees, programs, and funding. You certainly want to be able to in my opinion, you don't want anything to impede that. So
Mhm.
separate. To me, this is Joyce Rice here. I would set up a separate profit entity for that.
That's like a community development corporation having its separate, being separate from the church, so
Mhm.
that it protects each of them.
That's
Something
right.
could happen in either place, and if they're not separate, then it all falls down.
That's right. And you've got different types of finances going on. You've got financial management with the ministry, and then you've got financial management with some of the programs. So it's definitely, I think, super important to keep those separate. Now, the church ministry can raise money and make a donation, to the nonprofit organization. And church members can jump over to the nonprofit and help with that food drive or help with whatever that
Mm,
particular thing is. But definitely on paper, you certainly want to keep that clean and separate, I would say.
okay, great. Now, you mentioned consistent financial management. So, my next question is, can you suggest ways to maintain financial integrity in ministry? And what are the definite do's and don'ts?
Absolutely, 100%. That is a great question. Think of it like this: if you're leading a ministry, um, you want to be able to sleep well at night. When you lay your head on your pillow, you don't want to be worried about if someone just so happened to ask for documentation,
Yes.
you, you couldn't get it, right? So that's a heart check thing first. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, with regards to making sure that we can have peace at night about our finances, number one, I would suggest that you have a dedicated person that can give the time and the devotion to the tracking of the finances of the ministry. Now, if you're looking at a snapshot, there are four main things that you want to begin to build in the way of financial statements. Okay. Um, so you're going to be doing day-to-day tracking, day-to-day management, because you're going to be taking that data and feeding it into four major financial documents. So you want to maintain a balance sheet. Okay. You want to maintain an income statement. And you also want to maintain a cash flow statement.
Mm-hmm.
And where's my other one? So, and then your statement of owner's equity. So an equity statement. So your balance sheet is going to be what you own. It's going to be basically like your debts, what you owe against those things that you own. And then the difference between the two is your equity. So it really is your net asset, right? So if you own a building, how much you owe on that building? And are you in the black or in the red in that? If the church owns 5 vans, how much do you owe on those vans? I'm sorry. Let me start again. What is the value of those vans? The value, the asset, how much do you owe? And then, you know, what your equity is in there. Then your income statement is just a statement of everything that's considered income that's come through and all expenses that you have. So you're basically saying, okay, you know, we've got, you know, utilities, we've got lawn care, we've got all these lists of different expenses. You're going to have a statement of what those different things are. And then your cash flow is really just how they are working together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what kind of cash are you carrying over from month to month? This is where the forecasting comes in. Your cash flow. So your income statement is really just a statement of, okay, I got this income, I've got these expenses that we're dealing with, whether it be mortgages or subscriptions or just whatever those things are that tug on your money every single month. That cash flow statement is really kind of showing what's happening with those two things, with the expenses and the income. And really, what are we balancing? What is our balance at the end of each cycle, each month? And that's going to be able to really help you see, not just are you growing, not just is your ministry growing in numbers, but are we growing with our stewardship? Are we growing in how the responsiveness is to what we're asking for? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
And again, this is where you take this information into your boardroom with your leaders, with your board of directors or your board of advisors or your trustees. And you say, okay, boom, we are shooting for this big goal. We launched this campaign on this particular day, and this is what we have gradually seen. And you ultimately want to see those numbers change.
Yes.
Okay. And what does it do? It allows you to ask certain questions. It allows you to consider, where do you need to pivot? What do we need to be doing? It lets you see down the road, are we going to have problems here? So the first thing to start doing is make sure that there is a clear understanding and control of what the organization's ongoing expenses are. There are some things that are just fixed. It might be the mortgage, it may be the pastor's salary. And yes, I do think pastors should have a salary. Okay, that's not my business. So let me just leave that alone. We're not here to talk about
that. I agree. It's Bible. Worthy of his hire. It's sowed into you spiritually. You sow into me naturally.
Right. And I'm not a pastor. I'm not a pastor, and our ministry has not experienced that level of stability to have a paid pastor. But my husband served as a staff pastor for another church during the pandemic. So, you know, it's doable and it happens. So you've got some set expenses. And then, of course, you may have some that are considered variable, but you know they're going to be there every single month. They may change, like winter months, that gas bill may shoot way up.
Yes.
Summer months, that electric bill may shoot way up. So get a handle on the daily and monthlies and make sure you're tracking the income. Okay. And then you want to make sure that that's controlled, that's managed. And more importantly, you want to make sure it's documented. When you're able to forecast 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance, a year in advance, that's when you're able to rest at night, because you're doing what's called your due diligence. You don't want your paperwork out of whack. You don't want your documentation out of whack, regardless of how small or startup or new your ministry is. It could be a ministry of 1 or a ministry of 5. Go ahead and start your documentation on everything you're bringing in and all of the expenses that have been use for the ministry, and go ahead and get those get those things started. For your balance sheet, you may have one van and $5,000 worth of equipment. You may not have a ton of assets, but go ahead and put it on your
Mm-hmm.
balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and do it. Get in the practice of having a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement, and an equity statement. Go ahead and get in the habit of it. Go ahead and get into the habit of it.
And even if you're an older ministry, if you're not doing it properly, this is a good time, because COVID has allowed us a space to reorganize and restructure.
That's
This
right.
is a good time to get it
Yes,
together.
Dr. Stratford, you're absolutely right. This is a great time to do that. It is a great time to do that. You do not have to be a ministry of a certain size or a ministry that generates a certain amount of revenue to qualify to practice these financial management, to exercise these financial management practices. It's going to create a great foundation. And I believe you're sowing a spirit of integrity into your ministry, and you're going to create a great foundation. As the ministry grows, you're prepared to track and manage, as more assets come in, as more revenue comes in. You've got the structures already in place.
And that, would you say that should not be the pastor themselves? I know there's a point where you're just getting started, you're the only person there, but as you grow and the Lord sends in that human capital, that sends in that, gifted person, then it's time to turn that over if it's someone that has integrity.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think the pastor should be managing the finances. Number one, it's too much work. When you think about the pastor, and again, if this is the person who has founded the church, let's say the pastor is also the person who founded the church.
Yeah.
He, to some degree, is like the CEO. He or she is like the CEO, the visionary.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you're looking at what are going to be the next big strategic moves? What are the strategic relationships? What are the strategic partnerships? How might things need to be changed or restructured from an operational standpoint for the ministry? So there are a ton of other things that the leader, the pastor, can be thinking about, as opposed to maintaining these full financial statements. So any accounting person in your ministry, their work should be to make sure that at the end of your fiscal year, they have a balance sheet, a cash flow statement, an income statement, and an equity statement. And every day and every week, they are tracking the data and the information, the activity of the ministry, so that they are able to create what's called a snapshot of the ministry. Because if you go to apply for a loan, or even in many cases a grant for funding, generally speaking, they just want those broader summation of data. They don't necessarily want everything you've done every single month, but they're generally going to want a snapshot of everything. So you're not going to be able to produce that if you're not doing good tracking. But yes,
Right.
someone that you can trust. No due diligence is too much. So you could have a person that, let's say, counts money, and then perhaps another person that comes behind them and a signature. I would never ever,
Let one person do it all.
Yeah, I would never disagree with due diligence, or having two signers, or some way to have checks and balances. People have been burned. Let's be 100% honest.
Yes.
People have been burned, but definitely start with individuals that you can trust.
And trust is everything. Okay, last question. Are there any resources that ministers can access for ongoing assistance in business strategy development? Starting with yourself.
I'm not going to toot my horn, not on purpose, but I would say that you want to have someone on your team. I would say to begin to pray and ask God to connect you with someone who's not going to always agree with you. Someone that can bring just straight facts, a perspective that is not based on anything political or social, someone that doesn't have any motivation to agree with you. Okay.
Yes.
You want to have people on your team that are able to give you sound feedback. Have people that have different backgrounds on your team,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily just spiritual background, but definitely
Exactly.
equip yourself or your ministry with sound wisdom
Mm-hmm.
from a variety of different backgrounds. Because again, the ministry is still an organization. It has to
Amen.
breathe. It has to grow. It has to be agile to external environmental factors, COVID,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do we
Absolutely.
pivot in the midst of a pandemic? We become more technologically savvy.
Mm-hmm.
We learn how to be friendly and more welcoming on online.
And with a quickness.
Right, we get over being camera shy. Okay, so you may have someone that may be able to just sit with you and do a few mock live videos and say, that didn't come out too well, and because you are reaching a broader audience, we may want to work on that grammar.
Mm-hmm. 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 Just a teeny itsy bitsy bit.
So that would be what I would do. Pastors and leaders are so enormously busy because they oftentimes have families, they have businesses, and if they're vocational pastors, they have jobs. So if
Yes.
you're able to build an internal team of support with individuals that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a very big term now. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't want necessarily the more likely person to be in your inner circle. You want to diversify your thinking tank. Again, with individuals that do not have a
Yes.
motivation to agree with you, different backgrounds professionally, different skill sets,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be definitely thinking about that. Again, everything has to tie back to the organization's mission and vision, and everything that you do has to link up with that because that's going to be your foundation.
And even professionals from the outside, when you particularly if you're trying to expand, you want folks from City Hall to be your advisors. They know the plan for the city. They know what it's going to take to get your plans approved, and
Yes.
all of these different things, and bankers, and
Yes.
not just the folks who are in your congregation, but reaching out
Yes.
beyond the doors to bring in professionals who I've learned through experience may eventually become a member of the kingdom
That's right.
and possibly a member of your congregation.
That's right. And that's where that strategic partnership comes in, because we want to serve the kingdom, but we also want to, we talked about that word value. So when we develop those strategic partnerships with our folks in, like you said, City Hall,
Mhm.
people that are working in economic development, and community development, how can our organization
Yes.
partner along with you to present value? How can we be a light in this space? So I agree with you 100%.
Well, and hello, Lionel. I see you. I thank you so very, very much, and I'm going to put it in your hands for your final say. I hope that all of you, I know that all of you have been blessed. And for those who came on late, we had an audio problem with this week's videos. And so we're going to get that straight. Stay tuned to the website. I want you to get what you paid for. We'll figure it out. And use your workbook. I think you'll really find it helpful in this particular module. And I will be sending you a survey. Please, it's totally anonymous. Be honest, be gentle, but be honest, and it will help me tremendously in my next venture. So I love and appreciate you all. I'm going to miss you. It's been 5 weeks of us hanging out together on Monday evenings, and I'm going to miss that. But I'll keep you posted on my other ventures. So would you please share with our viewers any final thoughts and business events, services, or products that you may offer? And thank you so very, very much for sharing your expertise and your time with us. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's been fun. It has been fun. It's always great talking about these things and tackling questions that pop up. So I've really enjoyed myself. So I serve as, and I say I consider it service because I want business clients to walk away feeling that they have been advanced in their efforts with their small businesses. So I provide a consulting where I support specific things or coaching to provide guidance. And again, my passion is small businesses or visionaries that are launching or trying to grow their missions and their businesses. My specialty is going to be the launch space, but also thank you, Wanda. Also strategic planning. And so I provide strategic planning services for organizations. If you're wanting to take a look at either growth strategies or how to maybe fine tune how you're delivering or monetizing your service. I also offer family financial planning coaching. So there are seven key pillars of family finances, and I provide that. I also provide business consultancy and coaching, and I also provide training and speaking. So I train on a number of different topics in business
Mhm.
and personal finance. And also, I have a site where if you want to book me for coaching or consulting or training, you can do so. And I might be able to put it here in the chat. Am I able to type?
I'll put it on. I'll
Okay.
put it on. Let me know what it is. I'll put it in for
Okay,
you.
great. So that's going to be HTTP colon. Oh, wait. HTTPS. Sorry.
Hmm.
HTTPS colon / /
Oh, let me find the color. Can't see with my glasses on. Uh-oh, what happened to it? Hold on. CTPS. Okay.
Joyce Rice MBA. Lowercase letters are fine.
Mm-hmm.
.square
Yes.
.site.
SITE.
SITE. So HTTPS colon / Joyce Rice MBA .square .site. And if you click on consulting services and fees, you'll be able to see a flyer for each of those services. Oh, that's right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm sure you'll be hearing from someone in our group.
And it
And
was fun. I hope everyone got some nuggets and at least got some things where, stimulating some thought and excited about some structure and things in ministry. This was really great. It has changed my perspective on the church foundation, its potential advancement. Well, that's a blessing because God has called us to greater, and we have to start thinking about our ministries in the way of being able to scale.
mhm.
Scale and duplicate and grow. We should never only think of it just being our one location. So grateful that you were able to get something out of that, Lakeisha.
Yes, and thank you so very, very much. All right, ladies, keep your eyes on our private group page so that we can make sure that you get everything that you need. And I need your feedback for this course. God bless you all, and give me ideas for other courses that you need. Have a good evening.